So this video is the August 2022 edition of What Have I Been Writing With Lately. This is the video in which I talk about the pens and the pencils that I've been using this month. It's not a set of reviews or endorsements, it's just the pens that have been on my desk this month. Let's jump right into it. So the first pen I've been using this month is this. It's called the Koh-i-noor Rapidograph or Rapidograph, I'm not really sure, 5645. As you could probably tell from this pen, it is a direct copy of the Rotring 600. Basically, it's a rebranded version. My understanding is that at some point, Rotring took ownership of part of Koh-i-noor, which is a Czech pen company, and Koh-i-noor already had the Rapidograph brand, and they extended that in the US with the 5645, which is the Rotring 600 Ballpoint. Definitely not a pen I needed, but it's long been a pen I was interested in because I have been a fan of the Rotring 600 for so long. I've always liked these original models, and I just never had one of these. But I stumbled on one on eBay or something like that a few months ago, and I picked this one up. I had an imprint on it, so a kind of printed name, which I have covered up here. And you don't have to go out and buy one of these. It's kind of crazy to do it because it's really no different than any Rotring 600 from this generation. You see it has the early gen knurling, which is much softer and flatter than the later ones. You have the twist color indicator, which all of the original Rotring 600s had, but has went away with the current models. And even the refill, it has a standard Rotring Giant refill in it, which is the refill that was sold then and still the refill essentially that's sold now in the Rotring 600. And so it's basically just a different logo. And over here, you can see it says Koh-i-noor instead of Rotring. In fact, see if we can get it to zoom. They used a really ugly font, which is kind of strange. Wish it was like ostensibly a design company. Real quickly, we'll compare it to a slightly later generation, but still original Rotring 600. This is the kind of one of a later gen models. This is a Levenger. You can see it has the Rotring logo on it. The knurling got much better over time. You could see on the grip here, the knurling is sort of flat and like mushed down. Later on, it got much more distinctive. And now if you look at the current gen models, it's even more distinctive and almost a little sharp. The original models didn't really have any sort of sharpness to it. And the Levenger one, we could see, has the color indicator here, as you'd expect. And it says Levenger in red. But yeah, this one still has what I believe to be the original refill in it. So this is the 5645. These ones are pretty hard to find. And again, there's really no reason to buy it, which is no different than an Rotring 600, original Rotring 600 for that matter. But it does have a different logo. So it's really only for, I guess, pretty hardcore collectors or just people that are into quirky pens. Hard to say. But that is the 5645. Pretty interesting historic relic for Rotring geeks. Next up, I've been using this pen a whole lot. This is the Fischer Space Pen Infinium. This is a ballpoint pen that has I guess a near infinite, I don't know what the name is supposed to exactly suggest, but something like 80 years worth of ballpoint ink inside. I just like the design. I like that ostensibly it's going to last pretty much forever, especially if you're using other pens interspersed with it. So it's a pen you could put down in a year and it'll have a lot of ink left, and do that, use it use it for a little bit, put it down, come back to it, and you might be able to do that for the next 40 or 50 years and should still be writing, I guess is the point. I have this one in blue, which is pretty hard to find, and it has this coating, which is the, I believe they call it the gold nitride, which is honestly a little bit garish for me, but I do enjoy using it. I think it's just a cool pen. It's a lot of fun. I like that it's going to be around forever. And even though I don't use this one all the time, I do wheel it out a couple times a year, and I do enjoy it, and try to use it as much as I can to try to work through that refill. It's got a big clip, has an interesting kind of sharp knurling. It doesn't hurt, but it's like, it has just like it's interesting ridges. It's really nicely done. The cap is pretty annoying. There's no roll stop or anything like that on the cap. I always think it'd be a real bummer to have a pen, you know, over $100 pen. It's not a cheap pen that has 80 years worth of ink and you lose the cap on it. That would be just crushing. But I try to keep the cap on here, which I think makes the pen look very ugly, but it's worth it if you don't lose the refill. Lose the cap rather. There is no refill. What happens is this back piece is pressed on, this back piece right here. So basically there's a video I saw on this where the entire pen body is filled with ballpoint ink. So you're talking about, I don't know what, 6-7 grams of ink, which is essentially a tremendous amount of ink. If a Fischer Space Pen refill uses ½ gram, and then it is injected with some sort of nitrogen, something to pressurize it, and then this cap piece is kind of slammed on there. And that is the Infinium. I've been using this one a fair bit. I really like it in the blue. Usually Fischer pens are almost always black, and I was able to find this one in blue and used. So maybe someone used it a ton and it's going to wear out soon, but I've been enjoying it. Touch briefly on this pen. This is the Fischer Space Pen Y2K. I would say it's probably directly related to the Infinium. The designs are very much alike. The Infinium came out, I believe, in 2015, something. I don't really know when, but later than the year 2000, later than Y2K. So I think the two, in my head at least, are related. You see the design is very similar. They have the Fischer bullet shape, kind of this ridged back piece. The clip on the Y2K is on the cap. Here it clearly moved back, but similar pens. The Y2K actually uses a refill. So even though the shapes are similar, the knurling is different, but similar. You can unscrew it and you can see that the Y2K has a refill. The refill has a Parker style extension piece on it, or Parker style converter. So I think this might actually accommodate a Parker style refill. Honestly, I haven't changed it. The refill on this is interesting because this pen is the Y2K, I think was sold around 1999 or so. The refill I had with this broke. I think I just dropped it. It wasn't, you know, I broke it. And I replaced it with this refill. This is a original Fischer PR1 from 1980. So even though it's a pen from 2000, you know, a 22-year-old, whatever pen, the refill is closer to 40 years old, and it still writes, which again, is quite cool. And we'll see. So it's the Y2K, but with a 1980 PR1 refill in it. This one has a little bit of wiggle, you could probably hear. Posts, when posted, it's kind of too big, and again, doesn't look very good, but a very similar pen to the Infinium. And this is a pen that's sort of largely, I would say, fallen out of style. You don't really see people talking about the Fischer Space Pens anymore. And again, this one is also an imprint that you notice there. Next up, I'm using this pen a fair bit, and I have a video about this coming, so I'll just touch on it briefly. This is a new old stock Parker Jotter with the perpetual calendar window here. So you would turn this to adjust it, and you could see, oh, it's Monday the 8th, whatever. And then it is also an advertising pen, has an ad in here. This is for internal promotion for salesmen to sell Sears brand laundry detergent. But anytime there's printing here with a message, they tend to call it an advertising pen. So it is a Parker Jotter with made in the USA with the brass threads, which is generally, I would say, the highest quality series of the Parker Jotters. It has a really beautiful click action despite being a pen from, I believe, the 70s. It's also a calendar pen, and it's an advertising pen. So interesting pickup. I bought this one new, old stock. I forget how much, maybe $15, $20. I was really tickled to get this one, and I kept it in the box for a long time, and I just started using it over the past couple of days. And this one also has an original refill in it. It's called the Parker, the T-ball. And again, I have a video on this one coming out in a few days, few weeks, whatever, pretty soon. So there'll be a deeper dive into this pen, and I'll talk a little bit about why it's so cool. Very briefly, this is a Sakura Retrico, or Retrico ball. This is like one of those things you kind of throw into your cart. I think it's only a $3 or $4 pen. It has a needle tip, fully plastic body, and I don't know, I threw it in the cart, been testing it out, I've never seen it before. It's kind of this weird brown color. The needle tip is very fine, so it writes well, but I was using it a few days ago. I kept poking through my piece of paper, so what I was using under it was too soft. It's not going to happen here on a pad, but it's pretty smooth for a needle tip that's this fine, which I appreciate, but it was, when it's poking through your paper, it's sort of infuriating. The pen I find to be underwhelming, I'll say. It's on the thin side, this kind of octagonal grip. I just find it to be very uncomfortable, and yeah, I don't know, just not a pen I've really enjoyed using, and not one I'd recommend. But I've been using this one a little bit this month just to kind of run through its paces, and it was just up in the rotation. Gave it a shot. Not my favorite, just a little too skinny, a little too light. So just something I will I'll put aside for a future date. Been using this one briefly. This is one of the stranger pens, writing utensils I've used in some time. It's called the I think it's called a Parker Super Multi, the Super Multi 8 Multi Writing Function PH803. So what is going on with this thing? I had never heard of it before, honestly, and then I saw it on Amazon. I threw it in my cart and just kind of picked it up. You notice I do that a fair bit, probably too often. And what it is, it's a twist multi-pen. So I'm changing what's here: pink fluorescent, yellow fluorescent, red pencil, HB pencil, black, red, blue, pen, PPC non-copy pencil. So kind of a dated edition there. So it's a multi-pen, 8 colors, with a clutch tip. So everything in it is a clutch refill, or clutch, whatever you call it. I guess we'll call it a refill. You know, there's pens, pencils, also colored pencils, so also all over the place there. So it's a multi-pen clutch. And what happens is, when you find the one you want, let's go with the PPC non-copy blue. Maybe you have to do some photography work. You would push this down. This thing slides out, put it to the right area. You do your writing. When you want to put it back, you will go ahead and push the button in, goes back, and now you'll change it. Let's go over to the pink fluorescent. So this functions just like a clutch pencil, where if you push it too far, it's just going to fall all the way out. The interesting thing is you can't change it, because this is here, so it won't twist. If you twist it, you're just going to break the piece of lead in there. So you don't want to do that. So you just pop it back by opening up that clutch. And now let's move over to the black ballpoint. The ballpoints are a little bit more clever, because if you push it down the right amount, so like maybe halfway, it'll slide down and stop, which is nice. That means you don't have to kind of adjust it. And now you have actually a pretty nice writing ballpoint. If you push it down too far with either the clutch pencil or the ballpoint, then it just falls out, which is a little annoying. So you do have to use the right amount of pressure and it'll stop itself. The refill, the ballpoint refill, is just I think a slightly modified D1 refill, but I believe any D1 will work in there. And put it in there, Move over to a yellow highlighter. Again, these ones are going to slide out, which it's that clutch pencil style, which is exactly what would happen with a clutch pencil. To be fair, you do your highlighting. Again, if you do it right with your pens, it'll stop at the right point. Multi-pen, put it upside down, and you're good to go. So, pretty interesting pencil or writing utensil, whatever you want to call it. Not one I recommend, but I've been having fun using it. I think it costs about $10 or $12, and you can find them on eBay, some other places like that. And I believe that, anyway, this piece comes off. I'll do a video on a later date with it. It's been interesting. Lastly, this month I'll be using this pen a bit. This is a Platinum Cool fountain pen. This is sort of an upgrade from the Platinum Preppy and the Plaisir and the Pre-Font. It's not quite as nice as the Procyon, which is the all-metal version of this, and it has a slightly nicer nib. The Procyon has a slightly nicer nib. This pen, the Cool, has an upgraded nib from the Preppy and the entry-level Platinums. So you can see the nib doesn't use the modular style from the Preppy, Plaisir, Pre-Font, the P line. Slightly more curvy, but it writes similar, so it's a nice, wet, Japanese style fountain pen nib, and then you have a more refined body than those entry-level pens. It is plastic. The plastic's a little bit nicer. The grip section is a little bit nicer. It's more comfortable. A nice little ledge right here. The cap is a snap-on cap, but the this seal right here is actually quite good. So it does its job very well, and this pen's always ready to write. And I've been using this one, not just because I'm a big fan of Platinum pens, but, and there's a video on this coming, I have an original Platinum refill in here, which I believe is from 1984, and I popped it in here and tested it out about maybe halfway through the refill, through the cartridge in there, and I've just been sort of enjoying this pen. So I like this one. I've actually more than one of this pen, and then I've been testing it out with that original refill. It's a nice writer. The refill works completely fine, so I have no problem with that. And yeah, it's just a solid Platinum pen for about $30. I really definitely recommend this one if you are moving up from the preppy type pens and you like Platinum, but you don't want to go up to you're not ready for that gold nib $100 plus pen experience. For $30, I think this one's a really nice pickup, and it's definitely an underappreciated pen. I think it would be nice if it had a screw-on cap. It would get more distinction, but I actually don't mind having a snap-on cap. I think it works quite well. I think it's a good-looking pen. Usually you would see it in a crystal, like a clear, but I found it in this blue, which I like. So yeah, that's the pens. No pencils this time really, but that's the pens I've been using this month. Kind of an odd selection. If you were to go ahead and pick up any of these, I would say definitely that Platinum Cool. It's quite nice. And the one I've been using the most is this Infinium. I just went on a couple week tear where I was just kind of using this pen all the time. And it was really just my main writing utensil. So I've been enjoying having this one. And I do appreciate how long it's going to last. And the fact that I was able to find a blue Infinium was quite a big win. So yeah, that pretty much covers it. Thanks for watching.